Hey, I'm not here to waste your time, I'm just going to give you important things that you might have missed in the Deltarune newsletter. So, this is all, you have read this or you've watched another video, I'm just going to point out things you might have missed or that are maybe overlooked in their importance. So, the first important thing is in Chapter 3. It was a lot of work trying to test all the subtle details and texture prints in the game. So, to me this implies if they've used the same testers as in Chapter 1 or 2, that there will be more variants in the first two chapters, because why would they point that out otherwise? So, Chapter 1 didn't have that much variance, but already a bit. Chapter 2 had pretty much a lot of variance, especially with a weird route, though I don't know how much that had been tested. But the interesting part to me is that if there's even more variance, if this is because of previous choices, like we have like a weird root state and a normal state, and because of that there's a lot of variance, or we'll get a lot of choices in Chapter 3. Interesting to me. Also, another different thing is, it's a bit inconvenient not being able to save during longer portions. Now, this could have three reasons in my opinion. The first one, the most boring one, is they forgot to put some save points at some places. You know? The second one would be we have like a long sequence, like a multi-stage boss fight. Like imagine fighting Birdly, then Queen, then Mega Queen, maybe even another phase, like all in one sequence without a pause, without a save point. Or we have a long cutscene. All of these could be reasons. Reason number 3, we can't save in the light world. Maybe there will be a lot of light world stuff. So keep that in mind, I wanted to point this out. The third thing I want to point out is that there are multiple grammar errors in this newsletter. Usually I wouldn't point this out, because why would I? Buried into the snow was kind of ancient crystal, like should be like something like was some kind of ancient crystal. This I want to point out because part of the feedback was sometimes there were typos, and those were intentional, which might just be a bit of banter. Hey, our bug testers still don't know that we are sometimes just quirky with the writing like tiddy, but maybe it has a deeper meaning, and maybe these grammar errors were intentional, because I have never seen them in previous newsletters and such. Next part I want to point out is the asset names. This is called Susie Sleeping, Chapter 3 Susie Sleeping. This is Chapter 4 Large Holiday Tree, and this is here, if you want to see where here, this is like the link name to the file. Chapter 4 Large Holiday Tree, Chapter 5 Small Holiday, Chapter 4 Small Holiday Tree, Chapter 5 Holiday Reef, and Chapter 5 Burger Pants Pointing and Making a Face. And it's Chapter 5 Burger Pants. So whenever these assets are called something like that, we can probably expect them to appear in the chapter in that format, not just be like a teaser image or some decorations. So Chapter 4 and 5 seem to be a lot of holiday stuff, especially if we look at the previous newsletters, which I will do in a second. One thing I want to point out before that, Birdly is talking about a festival. We look here, we already, in the fall newsletter, we got teasers already. This is probably a Dark World entrance. Well, not only probably, if we inspect the element we can see this is Chapter 3 intro area. But here, this is already Chapter 4 Holiday, Noelle Holiday. So Noelle will be an important part of Chapter 4 with all this holiday themed stuff, and Noelle will be older teaser. And Chapter 5 we already had a balloon as a teaser. Interesting, balloons 1B. This could imply B for the color, so this is one blue balloon. So maybe something even related to Birdly, but Chapter 5 will probably have some sort of festival, but also still something to do with the holiday, since there's the holiday room. Next thing to point out with these dialogues is that we have Lancer returning in Chapter 4, Maybe he's also in chapter 3, but some people worried that he would be less relevant since taking him to other dark worlds and such, but he is part of a translation for chapter 4 at least. And another thing to point out is where these conversations take place. This is a dark... For those that don't know, Japanese translations use kanji only in the dark world, not in the light world. Kanji are these more complicated stuff. So this is a dark world conversation, this is a dark world conversation, this is a dark world conversation. This is so short, I don't know, like there is no kanji, but there's not really a reason to put a kanji here, so this could be either. This Berkeley discussion is in the light world, and Nina is dark world. And Nina, for those that don't know, is teased to be a chapter 3 enemy, and this is Nina. So interesting to put a chapter 3 enemy in the chapter 4 discussion. Maybe it's just a recruitment dialogue, maybe this is like castle town stuff, but I want to point it out for those that didn't notice. Now there's a lot of merch stuff, I looked through this, not a lot of interesting things. This is interesting in one thing. In any case, I had to make a design after Fangamer asked Toby to, so this concept art for Sean is not something that existed before the game. It's rather recent. Just something to point out. I don't think it has a lot of meaning, but it is. And lastly, nobody should have missed that, but chapter 3 and 4 will release in chapter 2025. And we have one last tidbit, which I do have a bit more to talk about, which is this slash snowman, which is Noelle talking about making snowmans with Des, Chris, and maybe Ezreal, maybe others, who knows, but at least these two definitely, Des and Chris, in their childhood, and talking about how hers was the smallest, but Des made her wings bigger, so she was happy, and everyone should have found this by now. But two things I want to point out, or even more perhaps, is firstly, this is related to snow again, which we had in the Sweepstakes. This is something a lot of people haven't really noticed, but if we click on this side, we get this page with white noise, which, okay, most people should have noticed, but this page is actually called Snow. And the text on this page is called this, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. It's called Snow Text. Now, and if we click on a secret button on this page, we get to Ocean. If we go through the ocean, we get to the Ice Castle and another block of Noelle. And if we look at the ocean page, the page is called Aren't You Forgetting Something? I don't want to put a lot of theories in this is up to you, but I'm just giving you the information how Snow, Noelle, there already has been a connection, and it seemed a bit ominous. Two last parts, these are not related to the page itself, but rather the Japanese version. Number one, the Japanese version doesn't use kanji. As explained earlier, this is normal light world. The light world doesn't use kanji. But during the Sweepstakes, the Japanese page used kanji. Noelle was writing with kanji. And if we go to the comments, Berkeley was writing with kanji. Now, maybe this has been an accident during the Sweepstakes, but it would have been unusual to make such an oversight. I don't really want to put a crazy theory here, but I want to point it out that there's a difference. And another thing I want to point out is in Japanese, this page isn't just called Snow, but rather Yuki ga Uoto, which means something like when snow is falling. So it's not just snow as the object, but rather the time during which it snows and the falling of the snow itself. I don't really have a lot of stuff to point out toward that, but it's unusual. Usually these pages have rather literal translations, so I want to point it out for your benefit. And these are pretty much all the things that you probably could have missed during the newsletter. Maybe I have missed something, but I wanted to point out these things that I have found that I found maybe not to be that obvious in some smaller connections to past newsletters and the sweepstakes. If you have questions, if I did a mistake, please let me know. I like to do these sort of things and dig into it. Maybe I'll do a more well-rounded perspective of like multiple newsletters in the future, or I will make a video about someone else, something else, you'll see. Until then, bye.